begin this morning with a strategic meeting in the heart of London, with possible political ramifications amidst the permutations ahead of Nigeria's presidential election. Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has met with Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike in London. People's Democratic Party governors who were present during the meeting include Samuel Otom of Benue State, Adamu Fintiri of Adamawa State, Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State, and Seyi Makinde of Oyo State. The meeting is said to be part of efforts by Atiku to woo Wike ahead of the 2023 presidential election. Wike has been at loggerheads with Atiku ever since the PDP candidate declined to pick him as his running mate for the 2023 election, and instead named Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State. The Rivers governor had earlier contested the presidential ticket of the party and lost to Atiku. And the PDP's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has also further cautioned his supporters and party stalwarts against making statements that could affect the party's internal reconciliation process. This comes amid fears that the crisis between Atiku and Wike may affect his chances in the 2023 presidential election. In a statement signed by Atiku's media advisor, Paul Ibe, the PDP accused the ruling APC of manipulating the political process to create a sense of division in the main opposition. The statement stated that all the leaders of the party, including the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, and all governors of the PDP, are united in working for the victory of the PDP in next year's general election. And just before the meeting with Atiku Abubakar, the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, met with former President Olusegun Obasanjo and the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, also in the UK capital. Three governors from the main opposition People's Democratic Party, Samuel Otom, Seyi Makinde, and Okezie Ikpeazu, were also at the meeting, along with former Cross River Governor Donald Duke and Senator Ulaka Nwogo. It is unclear what the meeting with Obasanjo was about, as no official statement has been issued yet. But analysts believe it is connected with the 2023 general elections. The three PDP governors and Duke belong to the Wike camp, which has demanded for the removal of the national chairman of the PDP, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, among others, as a condition for backing Atiku in 2023. Well, very interesting developments
yes.
in the last few days, but maybe we should start with you, Queen Adesua. What's your take?
Thank you, Dr. Abati. And I saw these pictures yesterday and heard the stories. It reminded me, and it should remind every Nigerian as we go into these elections, that when it comes to power sharing, there are no friends, there are no enemies, just interests. It's just about their personal interest and power sharing. So next time you think you want to drag the next person down because of a politician, take a look at these pictures again. It's a cross-section of the hierarchy of political party members in Nigeria. And guess what? They're in London. But to the meeting, I'm sure those in the PDP are somewhat glad to see that this meeting is finally holding between Atiku and Wike. But is it Uhuru yet? I don't think so. This is not the first meeting. You recall there was a meeting in Abuja earlier in this month, and that did not solve the drama between the two gentlemen, or the drama in the PDP. Some will actually say that the drama is around Governor Wike himself. So we'll wait to see. There are no details of what really occurred at those meetings. But it's interesting times ahead, I must say.
Yes, yes, quite interesting times. London has become this seat of reconciliation, striking political deals right now among Nigerian politicians. After what looked like that hazy meeting reportedly by between Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Nyesom Wike, because I say hazy because I've been looking for the photo ops from that meeting, I've been searching all night through the internet whether I can find any photo ops, because I know politicians like these photo ops to drive home whatever point they want to make. I couldn't find any. But here was Atiku, who traveled on Monday, indeed meeting with Wike, and if, of course, you cannot read anything into the smiles on the faces of all the stakeholders in that meeting, because politicians can smile with you today and stab you tomorrow. I recall that clergyman, who asks the question, ask your neighbor, there are so many politicians, if you have a gun, will you shoot me? To tell you the politicians, they can be friends today publicly, tomorrow they'll be doing something else. But what has taken place? Atiku Abubakar meeting Nyesom Wike, and I think that should gladden the hearts of many PDP followers and stakeholders across the country, because once people start talking, there's likely to be a solution. Instead of supporters on both sides making statements. And it was also a good thing that Atiku Abubakar in that statement cautioned party members about making statements that may jeopardize whatever effort is being made at reconciliation. And I think that draws to mind the statement by Sule Lamido, who former Jigawa State governor, who said, oh, there's nothing to placate. Nobody has offended Wike and nobody is reconciling anything. Yes, I think that's the kind of statement Atiku was referring to, because it doesn't help the reconciliation process. But let's hope that at the end of it all, the PDP, because they are racing against time, September is just around the corner when the campaigns should begin in earnest. And here you have a PDP, no campaign DG, no campaign council inaugurated yet. And of course, to get Wike to buy into the Atiku campaign, I think is at the center of what is happening in London. But former President Olusegun Obasanjo in the mix. I cannot really place what role he's playing now. He met with Nyesom Wike, Labour Party presidential candidate, our good friend, my good friend, Peter Obi. Yes. And so what role is Obasanjo playing? Who is he supporting? Who is he rooting for? Well, I cannot make a guess right now, but I think in the fullness of time, Obasanjo, in his usual characteristic, will make a clear statement of what he thinks about the next president of Nigeria come 2023. Ruben.
Okay, let me start from where you left off about the Obasanjo angle to these meetings in London. Well, there have been many speculations, but people are saying, at least in the Punch newspaper today, I'm quoting the Punch newspaper, that former President Olusegun Obasanjo is trying to push the Peter Obi agenda, and is trying to work on an alliance between Peter Obi and Nyesom Wike. That's the speculation in that newspaper today. And that this is the case, according to some of the persons who were interviewed and who claim to know what the story is all about, that, President Obasanjo is working for a Southeast presidency agenda. But, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo himself is capable enough of stating where he stands in the matter and what his choice is. But nobody should be surprised that he got involved in the meeting as an elder statesman who had declared publicly that he had retired from partisan politics. So that places him in a position to meet persons across the political aisle. But in that same report, some of the commentators said, well, they belong to the Wike camp, and they do not think that they will work with or for Peter Obi. One or two of them were quoted as saying that they would rather work for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, considering the fact, you recall, that yesterday we said Alhaji Ibrahim Masari, the former vice presidential placeholder of the APC, has said that the meeting between Wike and Asiwaju Tinubu is true and real, and that Wike is going to work for the APC, even if it remains in the PDP. And we said also yesterday that efforts have been made by the PDP to try to hold on to Wike. Hence, we had that National Working Committee meeting called by Senator Yochi Ayu. And yesterday I stated some of the big indications of that meeting, including the fact that Ayu does not want to step aside, and that two efforts were made to show that the party is unified and that there is no division within the party. Now, on the back of that, we then have this story also about the presidential candidate of the PDP meeting finally with Nyesom Wike in London. Now, you recall that the party had set up a 14-man reconciliation committee. That 14-man reconciliation committee could not make any headway. There is a committee. That committee was led by by Fintiri, Governor Fintiri of
Adamawa State.
Yes, of Adamawa State, who was also at this meeting with Nyesom Wike and his allies in London. Now, we heard that that meeting ended in a deadlock because the demands from the Wike group, one, that Atiku can only do one term, and that two, that Atiku Yochi Ayu must go. The other unstated demand in the papers was that Wike is asking that vice presidential the running mate should be dropped. That's Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State. So the meeting was deadlocked. Nothing came out of it. Now, in the papers today, there are reports that in London, that presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar of the PDP acceded to all the demands. We're still going to get more details on this, I believe. So what demands exactly did he concede to? Did he agree that he will do one term? Did he agree that he will work on Yochi Ayu leaving the party? Did he? What exactly were the agreements? We don't have those details. The only thing we have is the optics. And talking about the optics, that's a phrase from the statement issued on behalf of Atiku Abubakar by Paul Ibe, his spokesperson. And Paul Ibe was saying that, look, party members, stakeholders should desist from making statements that will give the impression that the party is divided, and statements that could jeopardize the ongoing reconciliation process. So clearly, I mean, that was Atiku Abubakar speaking through his spokesperson and saying that everybody should calm down. Okay, so I think if you look at it in terms of pragmatism, it makes sense for the PDP to quickly project the impression that there is nothing wrong in the party, that it is one family. Paul Ibe in the statement was even accusing the APC for putting out false narratives about division within the PDP. Okay, I guess that's a reaction to alleged meetings with the presidential candidate of the APC. So this, as I see it, are the details, but beyond that, a number of categorical statements. Number one, all these meetings that people are holding, yes, Adesua is very right in saying it's an indication that in politics there are no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, there are only permanent interests. And politicians can come up with anything, at any time trying to make peace with one another. That's one. The second point is the fact that this is no guarantee that there's still no problems within the PDP. It is no guarantee that there is already firm, concrete, tangible, touchable reconciliation between Wike camp and the Atiku camp. Nobody should put any big store with it and to it. And that is why Dele Farotimi in his book, Don't Die in Their War, has a very good point. Don't get carried away, with what politicians are doing. 3, why the choice of London? This is an indication of, for want of a better word, of a neo-colonial mentality. Any major meeting in Nigeria affecting Nigeria affairs, our leaders will jump into the aircraft and they are going to London. It's as if some people are genetically, umbilically tied to the, imperial attachment, colonial attachment to London. It's as if they think better when they are somewhere on the streets of London. And maybe it's a psychological deficit. Let us go to London.
Ruben, but there are other things they do in London.
Well, yes, they also go there for medical checkups.
They see their doctors while holding meetings also.
Because we don't have,
which is also
hospitals,
an indictment of the political class.
That can do it here in Nigeria. So, in terms of optics, it doesn't quite look good. All those meetings that they are holding, they could have had those meetings, at home. And as for those governors, from Seyi Makinde to Ikpeazu, to Otom, and Wike himself, I hope they are paying from their pockets. I hope it's not the taxpayers of Oyo State and Benue State and Wike and River State that are paying for this junket to London to discuss personal issues, conflict of interest. They could have done this discussion here. They probably ordered wine, ordered water, ordered this thing, and gave tips to the people that attended to them at the hotel where the meeting was held. Nigerians could have benefited from that, no matter how small. Enough of this junket over personal, issues all over the world. The other time they were in Spain. From Spain, they moved to Istanbul. From Istanbul, the meetings were held in Turkey. From Turkey, it's now London. Where are they going to go next? I even hear Peter Obi is going to Germany.
They will end up in Russia.
From Germany, he's going to the US. Yes, you are right. I hope they won't end up in Russia to go and hold meetings over the future of Nigeria.
No, but Ruben, Peter Obi and Atiku, they are using their personal money. Not government money.
Those ones are using their money, as long as they are using their money. The other point to make is that it is ironic that they chose London, in a place where a prime minister will emerge on September 5. Since the race for Downing Street began between, the Tory leadership, now narrowed down to Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. I've not had Rishi Sunak or Liz Truss, going around holding meetings all over the continent. And the discussion has been strictly about what both of them will do for the people. Issues-based discussion. What to do about cost of living crisis, what to do about cost of business crisis, what to do about the energy cap that Ofgem is announcing this morning. These are the things. So you engage with the people at the level of ideas. But I sit down every morning. I'm trying to think, okay, Donald Duke was in London. Wike is talking to Atiku. Look, how does that affect the price of bread or pepper soup? So these are the problematic issues that we face in this regard. The earlier the parties and the leaders began to talk about issues that affect us as Nigerians, the better.